cooking show, and I watched the Food Network, which I don't normally watch, but I wanted to get some pointers. And as it turns out, every chef on the Food Network, pretty good chef. However, they spend about 1 million years getting every single dish prepared. That's just not me. So I decided the name of my cooking show is called City Chef, which pretty much means if you live in a city, don't spend your whole day in the kitchen because there's too much else to do that's way more fun. So as part of City Chef, I have cooked some meals that are easy, that make sense, that use prepared foods. They'll look good. I don't know if they'll taste good, but whatever. And tonight, I've invited over a bunch of friends to celebrate my friend Laura's birthday as well as her recent engagement. And they'll also be watching my cooking show. By the way, they don't know that they're coming over for the premiere. Now, you would think this is a pretty easy challenge, but it turns out that my friend Laura and her fiance Philip are gluten-free. Do you want to know how many times I've cooked a gluten-free meal? 0. So this is going to be a bit of a challenge, not only cooking, because trust me, that's hard, but secondly, to make it gluten-free. But don't worry, City Chef is here to prepare something that is actually normal for someone that lives in a city where you will not have to spend 15 hours a day in the kitchen making the food. On most cooking shows, they have a little minion that runs to the store and buys all the ingredients for them. Yeah, guess what? I don't have a little minion. I gotta go by myself to buy all my ingredients, and it's 9 degrees in Chicago today. Wish me luck. I should also mention that not only do I have no little minion, I also don't have a little car, which means I have to walk to the grocery store in the freezing cold to buy the ingredients for my own cooking show. Bye. Still walking, but someday when you're really bored, I would highly recommend walking down the street and filming yourself on the flip cam while you're also talking to yourself. People think you're really weird. Because my friends are allergic to food, I've had to come to the most expensive store on earth to buy my gluten-free ingredients. Thanks, guys. FYI, cooking gluten-free, not cool. I could not find everything that I needed at Whole Foods. I'm off to Trader Joe's. I'm still cold. So, I'm on my way home. I've successfully purchased roughly $50 worth of food, which, ow. I would never recommend purchasing more than $50 worth of food because typically what happens is that it's too heavy for you to carry home. And I've learned that the hard way, so you should listen to me. Okay, bye. Okay, City Chefs, it's time to prep our workstation. First up, please make sure that you have your computer handy. This way you can Google things such as how to make sure you don't accidentally kill someone by serving them raw meat. Secondly, always have your cell phone handy to phone a friend. I often call my parents and ask them what temperature meat should be cooked at. And finally, make sure you have your Starbucks coffee, because while America might run on Dunkin', City Chefs subsist on Starbucks. Let's cook! Hey everybody, before we start cooking, as you know, it's a gluten-free day. So, I wanted to let you know of a couple more recommendations that I've got based on what I've learned so far. So, at this point, I've actually been to 2 grocery stores to purchase gluten-free products in the 9-degree temperatures. And if I have any advice for you, I think first and foremost, it would be to never ever develop a gluten-free allergy. And secondly, if you've got any friends that are gluten-free, I would recommend maybe ending that friendship overall, or, you know, maybe never inviting them over for dinner. Thanks. This tip, I always recommend that you buy as many pre-packaged ingredients as possible, because if you're like me and don't own a cheese grater, it actually makes a lot of sense to buy your cheese pre-shredded. Another tip from the City Chef. When you're buying spices, make sure that you always buy the cheap store brand, because let's be honest, after this recipe, you might not ever use that spice again. Okay, City Chefs, it's time for our first gluten-free recipe, taco bean dip. And unlike other chefs you probably see on TV, they don't actually have a recipe book handy. I don't understand that. I always need a recipe book handy. It's time to chop our green onion, and this recipe also calls for fresh parsley, but I actually hate fresh parsley, so I've just opted to not put any in. Now, it's time to use that blender that you bought online because it looked cute in your kitchen, but you barely ever use. Here we go! Oh crap! That took way longer than it was supposed to, and it's supposed to be fairly smooth. It's close enough. Alright, I'm going to transfer the ingredients to the saucepan. It tells us to cut our tortillas into 6 even wedges. Oops, that one might have been a little uneven. Don't worry about it. The City Chef is always allowed to make mistakes. Now, the recipe says to lay the tortillas out on a baking sheet and making sure that no tortillas are overlapping. As a City Chef, however, I only own 1 baking sheet, which means that they're going to have to overlap. But again, don't worry about it. Our tortillas are finished. For a tip that I always recommend to my City Chefs, make sure that you serve your dishes in things that are cute, because that way, even if it doesn't taste good, at least it looks good. Time to make gluten-free rice. It's time to turn on the stove to bring our rice to a boil. Alright, it's time to check on the rice. Woo! Uh-oh. You know, here's the other thing about being a City Chef. First, the fan is your friend. You don't want to make sure your apartment building is completely evacuated because you caught something on fire. And secondly, it's okay if one dish doesn't turn out because you've got a few other ones to make up for them, and I'm going to throw this rice away. Huh, oops. Okay, and to round out our appetizers, I'm making some Mexican-style pizzas with some refried black beans. Just gonna add a few peppers. Next up on City Chef, we're gonna make burritos. And you know, one of the best things about making burritos is you pretty much just take whatever ingredients you want, whether that might be peppers or tomatoes or lettuce, and then you chop them up and you put them in a bowl, and then your guests can pretty much make their dinner for themselves. Genius! Just chopping tomatoes, and if you're like me and you've bought all of your knives from IKEA, I'd recommend starting to make your Christmas list for next year and maybe get some nicer knives. Now it is time to chop our peppers. Now I'm just gonna toss a little olive oil in here. As I said before, make sure you serve everything in cute dishes because if it tastes bad, it still looks good. For those of you who know me as a City Chef, I hate cooking raw meat. But don't worry, as I said before, there are times when you will want your computer so that you can Google how to cook the meat so nobody gets hurt. And our meat is coming along extremely nicely. Looking good, looking good. Now I'm going to add some of my pre-chopped veggies to the meat mixture. I really hope that my guests like veggies because I just put a ton in there. Oops. Alright, it's time to drain our black beans, and I want to show you guys a genius invention that my parents got me for my birthday last year. The lid simply snaps on, locks into place, and you can just turn it over and empty it that way. Brilliant, brilliant invention. Alright, and it looks like our last and final meal is ready to go. I've got the burritos as well as our corn tortillas. Now all I have to do is figure out how quickly I can edit this video in preparation for my dinner guests to come, which might actually be the hardest thing I've done today. Mom?
She won't. She...
Food, glorious food. You put it in a bowl, and then your guests can pretty much make their dinner for themselves. Genius. Now, as I said... Oh, I'm taking video. Good luck. I hope you don't get sick.
Good.
The guest of honor.
Good.
That's a good one. I love it.